Subject this morning, the universality of religion. The universality of religion. Religion, as you know, means that which binds us to God. That's all. Comes from the Latin root religare, which means that which binds us. And I'm sure some of the Orthodox religions do not bind its members to God. As we hear about the different denominations, and unless you're of their denomination, you don't count at all. The hard-shell Baptists and the soft-shell Baptists and the Methodists and the Episcopalians, and they think you have to be of their denomination. Not all, of course. That shows that there is not a universality there in the different denominations, but there is the following of the outward form of religion, with its tenets and its conventions and its customs. But that's not the universality of religion, is it? There must be something. There must be some common ground, some universal common element whereby all religions must meet or can meet. There must be some common, sustaining, solacing element which soothes the soul. That's the universality of religion, not the outward form, not the dogmatic form, and not the creed. It's that which can be universally realized by all and accepted as all. That is the universality of religion, and that's what we all must find. And we do not find it in the outward form of religion. Now there must be, as I have said, some practical, pragmatic, common ground where we all can meet. Because God is one. God is one, and all things have come from Him. All things were made by Him. You, I, and all things come from the one substance, the one eternal substance, and that is the universality. So the universality of religion will be found where? Not in its dogmatic aspect, not in its outward form, but in the one God, which is the author of all things. So remember that. That's where you're going to find the universality of religion. In the one eternal substance, God Himself, which has created all things and which is the cause and end of all things. People are sidetracked by the ways. But at the end of the road, we will find the one universal necessity to all, God Himself. And as the Master said, there are many roads leading to God. But we must not be sidetracked by staying on the road. We must get to the end of the road, realize the one Father who is the cause and end of all things. Now going on, God, the one, is what? Outside of what I have said, the cause and end of all things. But what is the practical aspect of God which we must know? The pragmatic aspect is that must be something universally true to all, universally necessary to all, and something that saves us from pain and suffering, and something in which all our troubles will vanish, all dualities of consciousness will vanish, all inequalities will be leveled off, and that one thing is bliss. The bliss of God. So Master has characterized God as ever-conscious, blissful, eternal existence. Now we do not want that bliss if we're just going to have it for today while we're sitting here, or this week. We want that bliss eternally. And we want to know that we have that bliss. Not like in the state of nirvana, where it's sort of an unconscious state, which is the belief. Of course, it is not true. We don't want the bliss that way, in a half-awake state. We want it conscious. We want it awake. We want to know we exist in that one eternal substance, God. That's what God is, and that's what we want. So, if our conception of God, whatever it is, does not give us that, does not give us the inspiration to be used in our daily life, to keep us going toward God all the time, If it is not universally necessary to all, it's of little value. If it's just good to the Protestants and not good for the Catholics, nor the Jews, nor all other people, it's of no value. It must be universally necessary. Something all people want and can attain. And so, remember when you say God is bliss, it's not an empty sounding thing. It is your own life. And you will find God within you, and you will find him characterized as that bliss. God is love, it says in the Bible. How are you going to know it's love? How are you going to know you're in God's love? By the bliss you feel. Now, I don't mean by that by the emotion or pleasure. Pleasure requires an outward object to satisfy, or a person. But bliss comes of itself. It is fully self-contained. It does not need any outward object to bring it about. It is there because it is God in you. So remember, God is love means you know God is love by the bliss you feel. Now that's the universality of religion. That's the universal necessity of each and every one of us. That's the thing that will give us solace. And if we know that bliss of God, we will escape pain and suffering eternally, not just for a temporary length of time, but forever and forever. Don't you think that's the universality of religion? I think so. God is love. And God, you will know he is love by the bliss that you feel. So, remember, contacting God as bliss fulfills all the conditions, has all the qualities that you need. Everything is in that. You don't want to have $1 million or a nice new house or 2 or 3 automobiles if you're not going to feel that bliss of God and know he is with you, do you? No. So when we come right down to it, we may want an automobile, may want a good wife, we may want a new hat, but do you want that if God isn't going to be with you? So the universal necessity is the bliss of God first. And then, as Jesus said, all other things shall be added unto you. Satchitananda. Satchitananda, Hindu philosophy says, ever conscious, blissful existence. Satchitananda. So therein, in that Satchitananda, in that bliss of God, we find the universality of religion, the universal necessary common ground upon which all religions can meet, irrespective of color, race, or creed. God is love, and you will know he is with you when you feel his bliss. So remember, the universal aspect of religion is the bliss of God, which is the Christ consciousness in you. God the Father in each and every one of us, as the Son is nothing but his own consciousness diffused through matter, and you will know it by the bliss you feel. That's the universality of religion. That's the universal necessity for each and every one of us, to feel God as bliss. Now going on just a bit here to another point about this universality of religion. There have been many attempts to bring this about, to find a universal common pragmatic ground upon which all religions can meet. This was attempted in 1893 when the great Vivekananda came to America, to the Congress of Religions in Chicago. And after that, finding that he brought something different, then the religious heads, or those heads of the different branches of religion, got together to try and find a common ground where they all could meet. A universal necessity. So what did they do? They tried to find this by combining the tenets and the customs and the conventions of the various outward forms of religion. You see? Well, you cannot do that. It's impossible to do that. You cannot find that in the outward form, because the outward form depends on outward consciousness, while the bliss of God comes of itself through the power of intuition and cannot be known by outward consciousness. The roads will help you to reach that high state of unity with God's presence. The road is necessary. The road is a necessity, but we must not stop with the way. We must not stop on the road and forget our destination, which is to be one with God. We must reach that universality of religion, which is the great bliss of God. Now the ancients knew how to find that one, universal necessity of all. They knew that, but it has been lost in the Dark Ages. It was reserved then for the few. So these gentlemen, after 1893, were trying to find that, and got together, but they couldn't quite find it because they were looking in the wrong place. They should have looked within, above the outward form of religion. Now in 1920, when the Master came with his self-realization, he brought the techniques which the ancients used for God contact. That's all. He brought those, and through the special dispensation of God, it is made fairly easy for peoples of all colors, races, and creeds to know the way to that one universal necessity, the bliss of God. It is easy if you will follow it and do it. And so when the Master came, he gave us the channel whereby all who will, irrespective of color, race, or creed, can contact the universal light of God, and you will know you're in that presence of God by the bliss you feel. So you see, now we are reaching the right place, above the outward form of religion. Irrespective of what religion you follow, there you find the one common Father, the one eternal substance, and you'll know that by the bliss that you feel. Now going on just a little bit to this point here, the proof of the existence of God within you. Remember, the proof that God exists lies right within each and every one of us, or otherwise what use would it be? We couldn't get to heaven at all. We might as well stop now. So the Master said the proof of the existence of God lies in each and every one of us. And these are his words, and I want you to remember them. You may feel the greatest bliss, and yet you won't know that that's God. That's the difficult thing. God is so subtle, and he covers it up so well, that you may feel a surge of his presence flowing over you, and you feel wonderful. You forget that's God himself. So these are the Master's words when he says, there is not a shadow of a doubt as to the absolute identity of the bliss consciousness and God consciousness. Do you see? That's one thing. Just jam it into your consciousness so you never forget it. It's difficult. God is so subtle and he's so childlike, he just says, he lets you know it, and then he doesn't force it on you. So remember the Master's words. There is no question beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is an absolute identity between bliss consciousness and God consciousness. Now, I don't mean the ordinary consciousness of pleasure. Not that. As I pointed out a moment ago, that depends on outward objects or other personalities. But the bliss of God is something different. It does not depend upon any outward object or person. It comes of itself. Naturally, it is the emanation of the great cosmic consciousness of God, God himself manifesting as the Holy Ghost, known to you as bliss, and if you are developed as the light of God at the Christ Center. So remember that thing. You will know that you have the universality of religion when you feel that bliss of God. I don't care whether you're a Catholic, Protestant, Jew, whatever color you are. All feel and see the same universality of religion, which is the presence of God in them, as the Christ consciousness known to each and every one of us through the realization of light, the cosmic light, and bliss. And so, the proof that God exists is just that. When you feel the bliss of his presence, you know he is with you. And also a glorious vision of light comes when you are in the bliss of God, if you persevere. A glorious vision of light, which is the great cosmic light, which is that which God created in the beginning. In the beginning, God created light. And from that light, all things have come. And so, if you feel the bliss, persevere. persevere with your techniques and meditations, merge in it more and more, someday, as Laird Marcia says, striving, that glorious vision of light will come. That's the universality of religion, isn't it? And in that light, everything melts. It doesn't make any difference what you are, what denomination you belong to, or what color your skin is, or what race you belong to. In that light, everything melts. In that one great consciousness of God. That's the universality of religion. That's what each and every one of us must have. And we will have, if we are sincere with ourselves, honestly want God, and pray with humble hearts that His grace descend upon us. Now, going on just a little bit, as I have said, above all ritualistic and dogmatic religion, we find God as bliss and light. And all from young to old, can realize that universality of religion. All, no matter what their position is in life, doctors, lawyers, businessmen, scientists, householders, musicians, all can realize that same universality of God's presence. It doesn't make a particle of difference what your position is, what your station in life is, but all can realize God. And all, as I have said, irrespective of color, race, or creed, can realize that one universal necessity to all, which is God in us. Now you see, if we try to unite on other things, for instance, the followers of Krishna and the followers of Mohammed and the followers of Christ, they cannot unite on the outward form of religion. The followers of Krishna will not be satisfied by following the Christian religion, and the followers of Mohammed will not be satisfied, as you know if you have read history, by following the Hindu religion. Nor many of the Christians will they be satisfied by following the religion of Krishna or the religion of Mohammed. But they will be satisfied, no matter what religion they are, if they follow the universal aspect above the outward form, the universal aspect of Lord Krishna's religion, of Mohammed's religion, of Jesus Christ's religion. And what is that? That is the Christ consciousness which Krishna manifested, which Mohammed manifested, and which Jesus manifested. Jesus the Christ. That's the universality of religion, and everyone can unite on that common ground. The Christ consciousness, the end of the road, which is beyond the outward form of religion. That's why all attempts to unite people of the various religions have failed, because they have not united on the common ground which is above the outward form. The followers of Krishna had Christ consciousness. Muhammad had Christ consciousness. Jesus the Christ. That's the common meeting ground. That's the pragmatic meeting ground. In that Christ consciousness, characterized by bliss, lies the universality of religion. Now, going on, finally, in the Bible, we have quotations which point out the universality of religion is spoken of in a different way, but it's the same thing, the same one God, the same God characterized by bliss. In St. John, the first chapter, first verse, you should know it by now. In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. And what is the Word? The holy vibration, the Holy Ghost. How will you know you're in it? By the bliss that you feel. So there you see is the same universal aspect of God, His great consciousness vibrating as the light of the Holy Ghost. That's the universality of religion. For in Corinthians, the 1 Corinthians, the 6th chapter, the 19th verse, what do we read? What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own? This temple came from the Holy Ghost. It is not ours. It came from the one God. Now, this constitutes the universality of religion. And all who follow that word, all who try to merge in the holy vibration, will see the light of that word, as that holy vibration has flowed in and made this body and sustains it, they will see the same ring of gold at this point with the dark center and the little star in the center, all irrespective of what you are or what religion you follow. You will see the Holy Ghost at this point. Now that's the universality of religion. That's the reality. That's the underlying unity of God, the one great Father. So all see the same light at that point. Now this constitutes, as I have said, the Holy Ghost. And the light that you see is the witness of God's presence in you as the great holy vibration. The witness is the light you see, the witness of the underlying reality, God himself, his holy vibration, the Holy Ghost, the Comforter of which Jesus spoke, which manifests to each and every one of us. That's the universality of religion. If you see that, you will feel the bliss of God. And that's the universal necessity that everyone must have. Now I said God is bliss. That's right. God also can be perceived and known as the light at this point. Now you will not see the light, you should not see the light alone. It can be seen by practice, but you must feel the bliss of God in that light. That's the real part of God. That's why that bliss part is spoken of and emphasized so much, because bliss is the innate consciousness of God. Now when that consciousness vibrates, then light is produced, you see. So the reality, the most important thing is to feel the bliss of God. If you see the light all around, it's wonderful. That won't satisfy you. You have to feel the bliss, because that's God's consciousness itself. The nature of God is blissful. The nature of God is cosmic peace, cosmic love, cosmic fulfillment, cosmic joy. That's God's consciousness itself. That's the universality of religion. You will know it by feeling it within you and seeing the great cosmic light at this point. Now, seeing that witness of God's presence in you, which is most comforting, seeing that if you merge in the outer ring, the outer white ring, the form which it takes, you'll be one with the cosmic whole creation. You'll be one with that consciousness of God vibrating as this whole creation. If you merge in the center of it, the dark center, you'll be one with God's consciousness in the whole creation. How will you know it? By the bliss you feel. Then, if you can be one with a little star in the center, which is the epitome of cosmic consciousness, then you'll be one with God's great bliss and joy beyond this creation, just bliss and joy and his great presence. So there you have within you the witness of the universality of religion as the spiritual eye at this point, the dove descending from heaven, the star of the east. That's the witness of God's presence. That's the witness of the universality of religion, and you will know it, because when you see that and merge in it, then you become the bliss of God itself. So remember, we have within us, each and every one of us, this aspect of God's presence vibrating as the spiritual eye, and everybody, I have found, every student, irrespective of color, race, or creed, from the rough Irishman back in Boston to the Latins who are soft, and they see the same light. That's the universality of religion, isn't it? Not the outward form, or whether you're a self-realizationist or not, because we want plenty of those. Or whether you're a Methodist or a Baptist, it doesn't make any difference. If you see the light of God, where is your Baptist business? Where is your Methodist? Where is the whole business? It's gone. Everything melts in that one light of God. So that's the common ground upon which we all can meet. That is the universality of religion, and every aspect of God you see as his holy presence, as the spiritual eye, the light at this point, are all aspects of God and are known and felt through his bliss. God is bliss. God is love. You will know him by feeling his love. And so, in conclusion, I believe I have covered most of the important points. Remember this, that the universality of religion, these points which I have brought out to you, cannot be realized by outward consciousness. Their universality cannot be known by the sensations, mind, and intellect. And thank God, because there are lots of smart people in the world. But you can't know it through that. But they can be known. These different aspects and the universality of religion can be known by the intuition within you, which is God in you, the soul's power. That's how you know these things. When you see the light of God at this point, as I have spoken of, the dove descending from heaven, the spiritual eye, the star of the east gate, the light of the east gate, you do not see it through intuition and sensation and mind. They've all gone to sleep. They're of no value to you. But within you is something, the intuition of the soul, of which the mind, sensations, and intellect are a product. It is through that power within you, the intuition of the soul itself, that you will realize the universality of religion as God in you, as bliss. Bliss is God's love. And so, as Jesus said in St. John, the 8th chapter, 28th verse, when you have lifted up the Son of Man, when you have lifted up outward consciousness, and have become a son of God, or when you are realizing through intuition, not outward consciousness, then you will know, says Jesus, that I am He, and I do nothing except the Father in me. Then you will know the universality of religion. You will know the one God, one consciousness, one cosmic consciousness, which has made and created all things. And you will know that. You will know the universality of religion by the bliss you feel within your heart.